Michael again. So I'm going to do a fun lesson here that I call Happy Hendrixisms. Okay, so what this lesson focuses on is doing what's quote-unquote called Hendrix-style rhythm, although lots of other people do it. In more modern times, I can think of like John Frusciante and John Mayer. Okay, basically, anytime you've got bored of your guitar playing over the years, I know I have, this is a really good way to start jazzing up and spicing up things you already know, but combining new ideas and techniques, okay? So the idea is basically to mix familiar chord shapes with familiar scale patterns to create a rhythm and lead sound at the same time. So when you listen to cool songs by cool guitar players, you'll sometimes say, what is that guy doing? And this is about that, where you can create those kind of sounds. Okay, the first Happy Hendrixism uses the idea of a 6-string major bar chord. So in this case, A major. And combined with notes from the A major pentatonic scale with this finger arrangement. Okay, so the lick I'm going to show you combines those two things. Now, there's lick 1. It sounds good, it sounds happy, but not very Hendrixy just yet. So I'll show you how to make it sound more like that shortly. But what's happening here, just play your chord, the A major chord. Now we're going to slide from fret 7 to 9 here. Just with your third finger is quite important for all of this. 7 on the A string. Back to 9 on the low E. Go up to the A, and this is where our first hammer-on comes in. From fret 7 to 9 in the A string. Do the same on the next string. But just finish on fret 7 of the D. And that's the root note here, A, with some vibrato. So it's good, but let's make it more Hendrixy. And the way we do that is you start to let strings ring into one another. So it's that mix of chords and lead, which sounds so awesome. Basically playing what are called double stops. Now that sounds a lot cooler. Okay, so you're playing all the same notes again, but I'll point out the subtle differences here. After our strum on the A major bar chord, we do this initial slide. But when you get to fret 7 on the A string, still keep that third finger planted on the low E so that we get these notes ringing into one another. And basically, once that goes there, you can also cover the D and G string, also at fret 7, and just try and let that finger bar those guys. Whilst you do the rest of the lick as you did before, but that first finger now has become planted. And it's a bit of a challenge at the end because you're trying to do vibrato on 2 notes. Okay, so lick 2 is basically the same idea, but we're going to play the same chord and the same notes in the open position. So this trick in this open A position, we'll call it, uses an A chord. I always call this the lazy man's A. So you've got open A and then fret 2 of the D, G and B string. Leave out both E strings. So you do a little bar. And it means other fingers are then free to do some fancy stuff. So that's the chord here. And the scale is again the major pentatonic scale, but we're playing it in an open position now. So that's where this lick is going to come from. So there's our lick again, but without the double stops, just to show you where it's coming from. But then let's Hendrix it up by putting in those double stops. And for you guys with big hands that you can wrap the thumb over, you know, you're going to be able to get some good purchase on the vibrato down there. Kind of hard for me. Now, we just did lick 2, which was basically lick 1, but in a different part of the guitar. We'll just slightly alter it now with a different version of an A chord called an inversion. Okay, so you would give that chord the name A/C sharp, and all that means in plain English is it's a good old A chord, but instead of your open A string being the lowest note sounding, we're going to replace it with another note that's in the chord, but different than usual, a C sharp. And I always think that has more of a piano kind of sound, those kind of chords. So this lick 3 now is just slightly altered with that chord involved. And instead of a slide like I did before, I'm going to pick fret 2 on the A string and hammer the 4. Okay, lick 4 is very similar to the previous stuff. We're just doing it in a higher octave now. So find your A major bar chord from the 5th string. That form there. Now we're going to try basically the same idea here. So here it is without double stops. Now let's add the double stops. So let's go back to our first idea coming from this A major bar chord from fret 5 of the low E. Now this time we'll add more notes that we can play about with. So we'll add notes from the A major scale, and I'm just going to show you a standard scale pattern for that. Okay, so that has a very happy Hendrixy sound to it. Now, we're just making this A major bar chord easier for ourselves. I'm just playing the middle 4 strings of it. Now, I can't really get the bass note in these kind of things. It's just the way my hands are. But plenty of you guys out there could do this. So if you can add the root note of the chord with your thumb here. And hold it like Hendrix. But unfortunately I can't, so I just got to make peace with that. You can still do these tricks though, like I'm showing you, if your hands are like mine. Basic rhythm of 1, 2, 3, 4 and the 4 and is with some kind of dead note, whichever way you want to do that. Okay, so you can release the pressure from the chord shape or do a bit of muting or both. Then the lick is like this, which has that cool sound straight away. And these are just notes that we find from the A major scale. So you make a little chord shape here. Fret 4 of the G string, fret 5 of the B string. You're going to strum that little chord. And then those guys stay planted. The 3rd finger that's available here is going to do hammer-ons to fret 6 of the G string. So do 2 of those. Then do a trill here, where you hammer on and pull off. And the tricky thing is getting these notes ringing out, because I know that's difficult if you're not used to it. Then I want to grab one more note, which is an A note, just to make it all finalised. And we don't care about those other notes still ringing. In fact, we want that. and then just maneuver into the start again. Okay, so same rhythm at the start. And then I'll add the lick for you. And again, I don't really mind about all those notes ringing into one another. In fact, we want that. So you've got a hammer on at the start. A trill actually, like the one you did in the previous lick. So just do that trill. Then pick 7 to 6 on the D string, 7 on the A string, 6, 7 on the D. And if you can still keep those other 2 fingers planted through all that, then awesome. Alright, we're to the last ideas now, and I'm going to give you a different way to play a good old A chord, which you might have come across in something called the caged system, or if I explain that in plain English, say a good old C chord. If you were to reform the chord with your 4th, 3rd and 2nd, and move that form up, so that the pinky is now at fret 12, plugging into an A note on the 5th string. Then if you put a bar across that, that's a good old A chord, just played with a different finger arrangement. So just play the middle 4 strings for that chord. I mean, you can add the high E, but I haven't included it here. Now you could add a major pentatonic scale, A major pentatonic. Here are the notes from the bigger A major scale. Okay, so here's the lick. You're going to hear similar ideas and rhythms from before, but we're playing a different form of the A chord here, but still adding notes from those scales I showed you. Okay, so have your chord formed, pick the lowest 2 strings in it, and then strum the chord, then put your couple of dead notes in. I'm just using palm muting there really. Then here is the lick. So do 2 hammer-ons here to that fret 11 of the G. Then just play this chord now, which would actually be this. Strum it once, then go back to, this is fret 10 and 9 on the B and G string. 2 strums and give the last one some vibrato. And then the challenge is to get back into the chord shape to repeat the lick. Here's another lick in this area. Okay, so we're picking across the notes in the chord again. So same thing's happening in that first bar of this lick, then the actual fiddly part of the lick is different. Which might sound like a lick from before. So do 2 hammer-ons here to fret 11 of the G string whilst you're holding that top part of the chord. Then a trill. Come down to 12, 11 on the D string. And that's the lick. And we don't care about all those notes ringing into one another. In fact, we want it because this is a messier style of guitar playing.